They're the faces we wake up to, the voices we trust or distrust when the world feels chaotic. But behind the polished desks and breaking news banners, America's top news anchors are locked in a silent battle for credibility. Anderson Cooper, hailed by some as a beacon of integrity, is also one of the most polarizing figures on TV, with nearly equal parts admiration and skepticism. Ainsley Earhardt, once unsure of politics, now commands trust on Fox and Friends with a warmth that resonates across party lines. Meanwhile, Chris Cuomo's fall from grace and Jake Tapper's shifting legacy raise questions about the balance between fame and journalistic integrity. Hoda Kotb's steady presence and personal resilience earn her quiet respect, while others fade into controversy or irrelevance. In American news anchors on television, the most and least trusted, we peel back the teleprompter to reveal who's truly shaping public opinion and who's just reading the lines. Welcome to Past Paradise, where trust isn't given, it's earned, lost, and fiercely debated. Exposed, the shocking truth about the news anchors you trust. In 2025, American news reporting is expected to undergo significant changes. It has revealed a complicated web of confidence, influence, and media trickery that makes people question what they thought they knew about journalism ethics. Anchors like Lester Holt, Anderson Cooper, and Robin Roberts continue to lead trust polls, with over 60% of respondents saying they trust what they report. However, a closer look at the data reveals a worrying paradox. The faces in the news that people trust the most are often the ones that aren't scrutinized closely. A THR Morning Consult poll found that Holt has the most trust, with 65%. Roberts and Cooper are close behind, with 60% each. However, the same survey also found that almost 90% of Americans get their news from social media, where fake news can spread easily. This difference between how credible someone is perceived to be and the actual impact they have makes us wonder what role legacy anchors play in shaping public discourse. Additionally, the rise of controversial figures like Tucker Carlson, who receives a significant amount of negative feedback, highlights the division among people regarding their trust in the media. Behind the slick studio lights and carefully planned pieces lies a media environment that is increasingly driven by political views, entertainment measures, and computer amplification. There's a growing blurring of the distinction between fact and fiction as news hosts become personalities and news becomes a form of content. In this environment, trust isn't gained through thorough reporting. Instead, it's built through appearances and audience loyalty. This leaves watchers to find their way through a maze of half-truths and fake journalism. People in America still trust Walter Cronkite after all these years. Walter Cronkite remains a significant figure in American news. His reputation will live on as a standard for honesty and trustworthiness in a media world that is increasingly shaped by computers and public opinion. The saying, "the most trusted man in America," still sticks out, even though Cronkite died in 2009. This is especially true now when news reporters have to deal with more fake news and partisanship. Journalism schools still teach about his time at CBS Evening News from 1962 to 1981, not just because he covered pivotal events like the Vietnam War, the moon landing, and the Watergate scandal, but also because he was consistently honest and unbiased. Ruminate recently released a reflection on 2025. They said that Cronkite's emotional coverage of President Kennedy's death and his forthright comments about Vietnam were turning points that made people trust the media. The Walter Cronkite Awards, now in their 2025 cycle, continue to honor writers who adhere to his principles, which emphasize news grounded in facts and accountability to the public. Today's anchors often mix commentary with news, but Cronkite was always neutral and only shared his personal views when necessary to convey his morals. His famous closing line, "And that's the way it is still a part of culture and reminds us of a time when news was a service, not a show. In a time when people are skeptical of the media, Cronkite's legacy is not nostalgia, it's a standard. The story of how Anderson Cooper became one of the most trusted news anchors. Anderson Cooper remains an essential figure in American news in 2025, and not just because he has worked at CNN for so long. His reputation has been built over decades, and it has remained unwavering. Anderson Cooper 360, his show, continues to attract millions of viewers because it features a mix of breaking news and human interest stories that people from all political backgrounds can relate to. Cooper's image was further strengthened this year when he won the prestigious Goldsmith Career Award for Excellence in Journalism at Harvard's Kennedy School. This award was presented to him in recognition of his lifelong commitment to honesty and transparency. He has consistently been at the forefront of ethical news coverage in the field of global emergencies, including war zones and natural disasters. Cooper's calmness while telling highly charged stories, such as his recent piece on refugees fleeing Sudan, has won him praise from both his colleagues and viewers, who see him as a voice of reason in a chaotic media world. Cooper's work with UNICEF and support for LGBTQ+ rights, among other charitable causes, demonstrates that he is a writer who is actively engaged in the world beyond the teleprompter. There is a lack of trust in the media these days, but Cooper's mix of empathy, seriousness, and sincerity makes him stand out as someone whose honesty goes beyond network branding. His reputation isn't just comprised of news stories. Quiet, honest statements also shape it. How Matt Lauer's public trust quickly went up and down. In 2025, Matt Lauer's story will remain remembered as one of the most shocking events in the history of American broadcasting. It is a warning tale about how quickly public trust can be lost. Lauer was once the face of NBC's Today Show and a popular name associated with morning news. But in November 2017, he was fired right away after being accused of sexual misconduct. At the height of his career, Lauer earned $25 million a year and was recognized as one of the most influential reporters in the country for his sharp interviews and calm demeanor. However, the incident not only ended his career, but also prompted the media business to think more deeply about ethics and responsibility in the workplace. In 2025, Lauer lives a quiet life in the Hamptons. He is reportedly jobless, but financially stable, and he has kept a low profile, staying close to a small group of friends. Even though they are mentioned on podcasts and rumors persist about a possible return to the media, most people still don't forgive them. His fall from glory is often used as an example of how news organizations should handle internal complaints and maintain public openness in news ethics classes and media retrospectives. Some of Lauer's old co-workers have gotten back in touch with him personally, but the media as a whole has moved on. Lauer has become a symbol of lost trustworthiness in an era when trust is both fragile and fiercely guarded. Regardless of how much people like or dislike Rachel Maddow, this is why they continue to watch. Rachel Maddow remains one of the most controversial and widely watched figures in American media in 2025. This highlights her significance in the national conversation. Her return to weekly shows during the first 100 days of Donald Trump's second term sparked heated arguments and record-high viewing. During her part, MSNBC saw a 17% rise in primetime numbers. Maddow's style, which includes in-depth examination of court papers, historical parallels, and sharp criticisms, has won her both loyal fans and vocal critics. But it's just this duality that keeps people interested. She covered large-scale protests against Trump's controversial policies, like the No Kings rallies in 2,100 U.S. cities, which made her more than just a reporter. She became a recorder of opposition. Maddow's shows have become smarter thanks to her talks with historian Timothy Snyder and Bishop Marianne Edgar Buddy. These interviews have made resistance seem more like a moral and social duty. Some people say she's biased, but others argue that she's one of the few news hosts willing to confront dictatorship head-on. People who disagree with her views often watch because she is skilled at telling stories and connecting seemingly unrelated events into a coherent, logical narrative. In a media landscape with numerous outlets, Maddow will always be important because she can prompt people to think critically, feel passionately, and demand accountability. The strange case of Brian Williams and how he lost trust. As of 2025, Brian Williams remains a cautionary tale in the history of American news illustrating how a single mistake can erode years of trust. Before an incident in 2015, Williams was a recognized reporter on NBC Nightly News. He was known for his cool delivery and powerful presence. However, there were problems with how he described events during the Iraq War. Military officials openly denied that he was in a chopper that was hit by enemy fire, which got him fired and sent to MSNBC for 6 months. Williams returned to the radio with The 11th Hour, but the damage to his image could not be undone. Media experts have recently looked back, including in a June 2025 article in The Guardian, and said that Williams' fall was a turning point in people's doubts about mainstream news. His daughter, actor Allison Williams, has continued to protect his honor and stress how dedicated he has been to news all his life. Still, the event is often taught in media ethics classes because it illustrates the fragility of public trust. Williams stopped reporting in 2021, but he still talks about the value of truth and responsibility at media groups and university classes from time to time. Today, with fast-paced news and social media, his story serves as a sobering warning that even the most trusted voices can be questioned, and that trust is difficult to regain once it's lost. People in America trust Lester Holt and look to him as their go-to newsman. When Lester Holt left NBC Nightly News in 2025, it was the end of an era marked by calm leadership and honest journalism. After 10 years as the show's host, or 17 years if you count his time on the weekends, Holt quit on May 30th and started working full-time at Dateline NBC, where he now leads long-form investigative reporting with a new focus. When he made his choice in February, it wasn't seen as retirement, but as a way to improve his stories and reach more people in a style he had always favored. Holt's last show was a touching goodbye in which he thanked his co-workers and fans and reaffirmed his dedication to news as a public service. Holt consistently received high marks in trust polls and was often referred to as the most trusted anchor in America due to his calm demeanor during emergencies such as election nights and global pandemics. His coverage of the 2025 New Orleans jail escape and the Midwest storm outbreak demonstrated that he was still relevant, even though he was no longer featured in the evening news. Holt's image was built on reserve, clarity, and avoiding excess, unlike his more flashy peers. His move to Dateline indicates a shift toward more in-depth stories, a trend that coincides with a growing trend of shorter attention spans among the public. Holt remains a constant in a world of change in the media, demonstrating that quiet leadership is still essential. He leaves behind a foundation of trust that was won, not made. She used to be a star at Fox News, but now Megyn Kelly is a controversial figure. By 2025, Megyn Kelly has gone from being a reporter on a major network to a media powerhouse in independent outlets. Her Sirius XM show and her new MK Media platform have garnered her a large fan base. She gained national fame during the 2016 presidential debates on Fox News. After a brief and controversial stint at NBC, she transitioned to creating her material, which now reaches millions of people every day. Kelly has changed her role in the media scene by accepting a model that puts journalistic freedom over corporate control. She now has over 3.6 million YouTube followers and a growing network of podcasts with a wide range of views. The fact that she made Time magazine's list of the 100 most influential people in 2025 highlights her significance, despite her controversial nature. Some people say that her comments are too political, mainly when she discusses supporting free speech and questioning the stories that most people tell. However, her fans praise her for tackling challenging problems head-on, such as the recent discussions she had about gender policy and political extremism. Kelly's defense of Donald Trump's safety during a time of rising political pressure sparked new debate and demonstrated her readiness to address complex issues. Legacy networks are struggling to retain listeners, but Kelly's success proves that people crave more independent news that challenges the status quo. Her change reflects a significant shift in how Americans obtain their news, from less controlled to more direct and more personal. From icon to controversy, Dan Rather's life story. In 2025, Dan Rather's legacy remains a complex web of reporting successes and enduring debate, reflecting both the golden age of television news and its tumultuous transition. At the age of 93, Rather remains active in the public eye through social media and interviews. Most recently, he criticized CBS and Paramount for settling with Donald Trump for $16 million over a disputed 60 Minutes piece, calling it a sellout to extortion by the president. This strong stance reminded people of his controversial departure from CBS in 2006, following the well-known Memo-Gate story involving fake papers about George W. Bush's military service. Even with all the negative press, Rather's impact endures thanks to his coverage of significant events, including the JFK assassination, Watergate, and 9/11, over several decades. His 24-year run as host of the CBS Evening News, which began in 1981, remains a standard in American news. His recent return to CBS for an interview about his life demonstrated the enduring importance and emotional connection he still has to the network he helped create. Some people say that mistakes on the editorial board tarnish his reputation, but others view him as an example of bold reporting and standing up to political pressure on principle. Today, people are questioning the reliability of the media. Rather's journey from being a trusted figure to a vocal critic illustrates the tension between business interests and journalistic ethics. His story should serve as a cautionary tale for the next generation of reporters. Barbara Walters, the Queen of News and her enduring fame. In 2025, Barbara Walters remains a prominent figure in the television news industry. The Hulu documentary, Barbara Walters, Tell Me Everything, which opened at the Tribeca Festival on June 12th and went on general release on June 23rd, has brought her fame back to life. The film, directed by Jackie Jesko and produced by Imagine Documentaries, offers a personal look at Walters' groundbreaking career from her early days on The Today Show to her work creating The View, as well as her candid conversations with famous people and world leaders. The documentary features interviews with numerous famous individuals, including Oprah Winfrey, Katie Couric, Joy Behar, and Bette Midler. These interviews paint a vivid picture of a woman who shattered glass ceilings and changed the way news is reported for generations. Walters died in late 2022. She is known for being the first woman to host an evening news show, a significant achievement, and for her curiosity and understanding when interviewing people. Her skill at asking deep questions without making her subjects uncomfortable became a trademark of her style and inspired many writers who came after her. Early reviewers gave the movie a perfect score of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, demonstrating the enduring importance of her work. In a media world that increasingly values speed and entertainment, Walters' impact reflects the importance of asking the right question at the right time and with depth. Is Jake Tapper as trustworthy as people say he is? In 2025, Jake Tapper's image as a reliable reporter is being scrutinized more closely because his ratings are declining, and people are criticizing the editorial choices he makes. Tapper was once praised for his sharp questions and fair tone on CNN's The Lead. But now that his controversial book, Original Sin, which he wrote with Alex Thompson, is out, he is at the center of a credibility debate because it claims that the Biden administration covered up information about the president's mental health. Some people support Tapper's reporting by saying it is still based on facts. Others, however, argue that his tone has shifted in a way that makes it appear more biased and less objective. Ratings from May 2025 show that The Lead had an average of only 525,000 watchers, which is the lowest number in 10 years. Competing Fox News shows continue to rule with over 3 million viewers. CNN reports that Tapper's show still leads the national talk across all platforms, but the numbers indicate a gap between the show's perceived influence and the level of engagement among its viewers. His appearances on SiriusXM and CNN Plus Book Club segments haven't stopped the trend, which makes people wonder if Tapper's style of news still resonates in today's divided media environment. As people lose faith in prominent news reporters and turn to independent views, Tapper's future may rest on how well he can adapt without compromising the honesty that made him famous in the first place. Still, the question remains, is trust earned or just taken for granted? There is grace, grit, and respect in America for Diane Sawyer. Even now, in 2025, Diane Sawyer's name is still remembered as a sign of great journalism, strength, and quiet power. Sawyer stopped daily reporting in 2014, but she is still involved with ABC News features and documentaries. Most recently, she collaborated with others on the series America's Hidden Voices, which explores underserved groups across the U.S. Her work has been praised again. In April 2025, the Peabody Board presented her with a Lifetime Achievement Award for her decades of powerful storytelling. Sawyer has had a career that is both intellectually rigorous and emotionally deep. She started out as a White House worker under President Nixon and now hosts ABC World News Tonight and co-hosts Good Morning America. The interview she did with climate scientist Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson in 2025, which ran during ABC's Earth Week coverage, was praised for being precise and vital. It reminded viewers of Sawyer's enduring ability to transform complex problems into relatable human stories. Sawyer has been a respectful presence even though she has lost people close to her, such as her husband, Mike Nichols, and her mother. She has turned her grief into purpose. In her quiet retirement in New York City, she assists those in need and mentors young writers. In an era when spectacles are common in the media, Sawyer's impact demonstrates the power of humanity, the importance of remaining calm under pressure, and how respect can be earned by sharing the truth over decades. Former political aide George Stephanopoulos is now a co-host of the morning show. In 2025, George Stephanopoulos' work continues to bridge the gap between politics and media, demonstrating both private knowledge and public trust. Stephanopoulos was once a top advisor to President Bill Clinton. Still, now he is a media icon who hosts This Week on ABC and co-hosts Good Morning America alongside Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan. His recent success with the best-selling book The Situation Room, which was nominated for an Audie Award, has made him even more well-known as a serious writer who explores American power and crisis management. The book, which has been hailed for revealing events that occurred behind the scenes during 12 presidential administrations, demonstrates how he can transform complex political situations into engaging stories. People have both liked and disliked Stephanopoulos' coverage of Donald Trump's second term, especially the first 100 days, which saw significant changes in institutions and the economy. His talks with people like Chris Christie and Donna Brazile demonstrate that he remains effective in bridging political divisions. Even though media environment is changing, Stephanopoulos is still a constant. He balances the fun of the morning show with tough political analysis. As both a writer and former political agent, he has a unique perspective that helps people understand how the lines between government and media are often crossed. As longtime reporters change or leave, Stephanopoulos stands out as an exceptional figure, part historian, part host, whose career path reflects the evolution of American news over the years. What will happen to Tom Brokaw? Is he still one of the most trusted voices? In 2025, Tom Brokaw's work is still regarded as a model for American news despite his retirement and ongoing battle with multiple myeloma, which he has been fighting for 10 years. At 85 years old, Brokaw is still honored for his lasting impact. Tributes and retrospectives highlight his key role in building public trust during the golden age of television news. People often say that his time at NBC Nightly News, from 1982 to 2004, was a period of honest journalism, as he covered significant events such as the fall of the Berlin Wall, 9/11, and presidential elections that changed generations. A new Hulu documentary titled Brokaw, The Voice of America, was released in May 2025 and renewed widespread respect for Brokaw. It featured interviews with former presidents, journalists, and cultural stars who said that Brokaw set a tone of cool authority and factual clarity. Even though Brokaw is no longer working as a reporter, his thoughts on national strength and social duty continue to be discussed in academia and the media, which enhances his credibility as a credible source. Many people shared his 2025 article in The Atlantic, which was a serious review and positive look at how the media is polarizing people and how public conversation is breaking down. These days, partisanship and content chosen by algorithms are standard. Brokaw's impact is a lesson that trust is not gained through volume, but through consistency, humility, and a lifelong commitment to the truth. Why some people trust Tucker Carlson and others don't. Tucker Carlson remains one of the most controversial figures in American media as of 2025. His work after leaving Fox News has garnered both praise and criticism. Since starting The Tucker Carlson Show and becoming more popular on sites like X and TikTok, Carlson has gained a very loyal fan base while losing many past listeners. His recent shift away from MAGA orthodoxy, especially his strong opposition to U.S. military action in Iran after Israel's attack on June 13th, has surprised foes and won praise from places you might not expect. Over 18 million people watched clips of Carlson's talk with Senator Ted Cruz on June 18th, in which he questioned the senator's understanding of Middle Eastern politics. These clips sparked conversations about war and responsibility among people from all political parties. However, Carlson's past of supporting conspiracy theories and hosting controversial guests on the show continues to erode trust. His support of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and past ties to Holocaust revisionists have gotten him harsh criticism, but some of his fans like his stand against the norm. Carlson's ability to elicit strong emotions, whether he's criticizing Trump's foreign policy or discussing cultural issues, suggests that he has built a media image around upsetting people. For fans, he's a voice that's not afraid to question the stories told by the establishment. For critics, he's a symbol of the risks of spreading false information among the populace. Carlson's impact lasts in a media environment that isn't unified because everyone trusts him, but because he's hard to ignore. Don Lemon, from a CNN favorite to a controversial story. Don Lemon went from being a respected CNN host to a lightning rod for debate in 2025. This shows how unstable media and identity politics are today. Once a mainstay of primetime news with Don Lemon Tonight, his sudden firing in 2023 after making comments about Nikki Haley's age and a damaging Variety article accusing him of being sexist was a turning point in his career. Since then, Lemon has come back with The Don Lemon Show, a self-produced show under his new media company. On it, he talks about everything from race and politics to personal pain. In March 2025, he went on Bill Maher's show and talked about being sexually harassed by both male and female co-workers at CNN. He spoke of events he didn't report because he was afraid of revenge and unfair treatment by the system. Conservatives, especially black conservatives, have been furious about Lemon's honest comments, especially the one that went viral, calling black MAGA fans irrational. They have accused him of gatekeeping and reverse racism. Even though he gets criticized, Lemon still has a lot of fans. His YouTube account has over 2 million followers, and his show is ranked in the top 50 on Apple's charts. As he navigates a media world that praises bravery but punishes mistakes, his journey highlights the tension between being true to oneself and being responsible to the public. Lemon's story is no longer just about news. It's also about surviving, starting over, and the cost of speaking out freely. Can Savannah Guthrie be the face of trust in the news today? In 2025, Savannah Guthrie is still the host of NBC's Today Show. For over a decade, her blend of kindness, legal expertise, and rigorous reporting has made her a well-known figure. When Hoda Kotb left earlier this year, Guthrie became more critical of the situation. She now works with Craig Melvin in a relationship that is both humorous and serious, as evidenced by the fact that Melvin got a temporary tattoo of Guthrie's face after they bet on a football game. In a recent interview with President Biden about the economic rebound following the pandemic, she demonstrated that she could ask pointed questions with ease. This added to her image as a writer who can talk about tough topics without turning people off. When Guthrie appeared on Monica Lewinsky's podcast, Reclaiming, in July 2025, it provided a rare glimpse into her personal life. She talked about how she dealt with the sadness of losing her father when she was 16 and how her strength helped her build a successful career. She continues to do charitable work off camera, particularly in the area of children's education. Her honest discussions about motherhood and work-life balance continue to resonate with working parents nationwide. Some critics argue that morning show hosts lack the same level of toughness as primetime reporters. Still, Guthrie's steady presence, emotional intelligence, and background as a lawyer make her a trustworthy figure in a media environment that isn't always unified. The future of faith in television news may depend on how well she can connect, teach, and change. Chris Wallace's move to CNN, a risky step or a safe change? When Chris Wallace leaves CNN in 2025, it will mark the end of a 3-year experiment that began with high hopes and concluded with a quiet readjustment. Wallace left Fox News in 2021 and joined CNN, where he promised to improve the network's political coverage and spark its streaming plans with Who's Talking to Chris Wallace on CNN Plus, a service that shut down within weeks. Wallace moved on to Max and later hosted The Chris Wallace Show, a Saturday morning group show that got some good reviews, but failed to reach the level of popularity Wallace once had. Wallace's choice not to renew his contract, which was made public in November 2024, was seen as a move toward independent media. He was excited to try out podcasts and streaming forms, calling them where the action seems to be. CNN CEO Mark Thompson called Wallace one of the most respected political journalists, but he also noted that standard cable was less feasible due to the changing media landscape. Wallace's resignation happened at the same time that Donald Trump became president again. This made it even more important to have trustworthy news coverage in a time of increased political division. Initially, Wallace's move to CNN was viewed as a bold move. However, his impact is mixed, illustrating both the challenges of adapting old talent to new platforms and the importance of journalistic freedom in the long term. His next book might change the way people trust each other, not by using networks, but by using words and eyes. Find out which news anchors Americans trust the most and least. You'll be surprised. According to the most recent THR Morning Consult study of 2,239 U.S. adults, there is a big difference in how much people believe American news reporters in 2025. This difference is between lasting authority and controversial impact. Lester Holt of NBC is at the top of the list, with 65% of respondents saying they believe his reporting a lot or some. David Muir of ABC is next with 63%, followed by Norah ODonnell of CBS, who comes in third with 53%. Robin Roberts and Al Roker, both regulars on morning shows, also performed well, earning 64% trust scores each. This demonstrates the popularity of honest news that people appreciate. Sean Hannity of Fox News is the least trusted person, with 30% of respondents saying they don't trust him at all. He is followed by Rachel Maddow of MSNBC with 26% and Don Lemon of CNN with 25%. Tucker Carlson, who is now independent and posts on X, remains the most controversial figure, with 49% of respondents saying they don't trust him at all. It's interesting that 52% of Americans now say it's essential that the source of their political news is also exciting. This suggests that charm may be just as important as trustworthiness in shaping how people see things. The data shows that the way people consume media has changed in a bigger way. News hosts are no longer just information carriers. They are also cultural icons whose credibility is based on political affiliation, platform loyalty, and emotional impact. Being liked or hated can be just as strong as being believed in this broken environment. People in the U.S. no longer trust these news anchors despite their well-known reputations. In 2025, the disparity between the perceived credibility of American news reporters and the actual trust people have in them has grown significantly. This is because public distrust of corporate media has reached all-time highs. Gallup's most recent poll shows that 31% of Americans say they trust the media a great deal or a fair amount, while 36% say they don't trust it at all. These are the lowest trust levels seen in over 50 years. Anchors like Don Lemon, Sean Hannity, and even Rachel Maddow, who used to be well known, are now on the defensive because they are being accused of bias, sensationalism, and political entrenchment. Their trust scores are dropping. Lemon's controversial departure from CNN and Hannity's unwavering support for conservative stories have led people to believe that the networks are biased. At the same time, Maddow's in-depth editorial style has divided viewers along ideological lines. People are losing faith in more than just television networks. They are also losing faith in traditional networks like ABC and CBS as more people get their news from social media and other independent sources. This change is a sign that people are growing tired of standard reporting in general. Nearly 2/3 of Americans report feeling overwhelmed by the amount of news they receive. The rise of podcasters and influencers as alternative news sources has made things even more complicated. Anchors need to change or risk becoming irrelevant. Once, fame was a sign of trustworthiness. Now fame is like a double-edged sword. It draws attention, but it also invites close examination. In this situation, being well-known doesn't mean you're respected. Recent polls show which female news anchors people trust most. In 2025, female news hosts will continue to redefine what it means to be credible and influential in the media. New polls show that there is a wide range of women who the public trusts across all platforms. The THR Morning Consult poll and regional trust indexes rank Robin Roberts of ABC as one of the most trustworthy newscasters, 64%, praised for her caring stories and regular appearances on Good Morning America. Norah ODonnell of CBS comes in second with a 53% trust score thanks to her fair reporting and leadership on CBS Evening News. In India, Ajana Kashyap and Sweta Singh are the most trusted journalists, with Kashyap's assertive style and Singh's clarity putting them at the top of national trust rankings. Bernett, who is now working independently, is still recognized for her war reporting and in-depth investigations. Rika Anirudh, on the other hand, is a valued voice in community news because she focuses on social problems. People believe these reporters not only for how they give the news, but also for how well they handle complicated stories with care and accuracy. Their impact goes beyond TV. Many of them keep people interested through blogs, films, and other digital channels. As people become more interested in real and relatable media, these women demonstrate how trust in news is shifting to prioritize consistency, kindness, and the courage to question established norms. They are still important, which shows that you can gain respect through both appearance and principle. Is Sean Hannity in charge of a newsroom or a movement? In 2025, Sean Hannity's role at Fox News shifted from reporter to ideological leader. He blurs the lines between news and politics in ways that continue to divide viewers. Hannity remains the host of his daily primetime show, Hannity, but his influence extends far beyond the studio. His opinion influences the way conservatives discuss issues on the radio, TV, and the Internet. People are paying close attention to his recent work on Project 2025, a broad policy effort backed by the Heritage Foundation. This is especially true since he claimed he didn't know about it, despite having Paul Dans, the head of it, on his radio show. Some people say that Hannity's show is becoming more and more of a stage for right-wing policy goals instead of neutral reporting. They point to his strong support for Donald Trump's second term and the way he talks about political opponents as grave threats to American ideals as examples. However, his fans view him as telling the truth in a media that they believe is heavily skewed toward the left. Hannity's statements for 2025, which were shown on a popular Fox News program, painted a picture of a new America under Trump. This strengthened his role as both an analyst and a culture planner. Some people think he's going to retire, but Hannity is still working and using his fame to change political opinion and policy arguments. Hannity's position in the press or as the leader of a campaign illustrates how the media's power is shifting. It's no longer based on balance, but on controlling the narrative. We love Robin Roberts, and she's won our hearts with everything from sports to serious news. Robin Roberts is a model of strength and success as a journalist in the year 2025. She went from being a groundbreaking sports reporter to becoming one of America's most beloved news figures. In the 1980s, she broke barriers as one of the first women to co-host NFL Primetime on ESPN. Her career took a big turn when she was cast as a co-anchor on ABC's Good Morning America, a job she still holds with warmth and authority. Roberts has an impact beyond the screen. Her production company, Rockin' Robin Productions, has produced praised films, including the 2024 Lifetime special on Mahalia Jackson and the captivating tale of Camilla Mobley's kidnapping and reunion. In 2025, her net worth was projected to be $55 million. This demonstrates not only her financial success, but also the value of her influence. Roberts has been a public figure of hope and strength as she battled breast cancer and myelodysplastic syndrome. She did so with grace in both cases. She continues to give back to the community and help others, often bringing attention to voices that aren't heard enough in the media. People praised her talk with past Vice President Kamala Harris about reproductive rights for being straightforward and empathetic. This makes her an even more reliable voice in these troubled times. Roberts is a rare combination of skill and humanity that continues to win America's hearts. She reports from disaster zones and shares personal milestones, showing that trustworthiness and kindness can exist in modern media. Joy Reid. Believe the people who watch her and the ratings. The exit of Joy Reid from MSNBC's The Readout in 2025 marked a significant shift in the network's evening lineup, but her loyal fans continue to support her voice in new forms. In February, the show had an average of only 973,000 watchers, which was 28% less than the previous year. However, Reid's last week saw an unexpected rise, with 1.69 million viewers watching on February 24th. People had different responses to her departure, which was part of a larger reorganization that gave more attention to individuals like Jen Psaki and created a new panel show featuring Simone Sanders Townsend and Michael Steele. Reid's critics argue that her comments divide people, and her numbers are declining. Still, her fans claim that her outspoken views on race, justice, and democracy have made her one of the few news reporters willing to challenge dominant storylines. Her emotional goodbye, which was said to be sad and thoughtful, showed how hard it is for her to deal with a media environment that is becoming more and more unfriendly to progressive views. Reid was one of the first Black women to host a big television news show. She still has an impact on people today through podcasts and guest comments. Many people appreciated the honesty of her February 2025 conversation on Reclaiming with Monica Lewinsky. They talked about media bias and diversity. Reid's audience remains interested, even though she's no longer on MSNBC. This suggests that numbers don't always reflect trust, but rather that being consistent, brave, and willing to speak the truth to those in power is crucial. What does Shepard Smith's leaving from Fox News say about trust? In 2025, Shepard Smith's departure from Fox News is still regarded as a pivotal moment in the network's history and a significant statement about the public's trust in American media. Smith officially left Fox in 2019, but the long-term effects of his departure have resurfaced in recent retrospectives and media analyses, primarily as Fox News navigates internal changes within the company and addresses complaints from external sources. Smith was known for sticking to facts and not believing in political stories. He was feeling increasingly alone on a network where most of the shows were opinion-based. Many saw his decision to leave, which he said was a personal one, to begin a new chapter, as a quiet protest against the loss of editing freedom. Others who study the media and Smith's former co-workers view his departure in 2025 as a turning point in the balance between news and opinion, where ideological branding became the most critical factor. Now, news schools and media think tanks are reevaluating his impact. Many see his time in office as a rare example of honesty under pressure. There isn't a clear person to take over his job at Fox, which highlights the challenges of being impartial as a reporter in a divided world. Smith's move to CNBC, where he hosted The News with Shepard Smith until its cancellation in 2022, illustrates the challenges of maintaining impartial news coverage in a world that is increasingly focused on numbers. His story still serves as a warning about honesty, trust, and what it means to stand alone. Erin Bernett. Tough questions, calm behavior. Can you trust them? In 2025, Erin Bernett's main show on CNN remains Erin Bernett Out Front, but her trust scores indicate that people have mixed feelings about her due to her stability and her controversial views. Bernett, known for her calm delivery and sharp questions, has covered major global events this year, including the growing conflict between Iran and Israel and the U.S. response to unrest in the Middle East. She is often broadcast live from CNN studios in New York, while also including reports from reporters in Tehran and Jerusalem. People appreciated the clarity of her June 27 piece on the Supreme Court's decision to limit the power of lower courts. Still, some argue that her tone isn't always urgent when covering essential stories. There was some speculation about Burnett's short breaks earlier this year, but CNN stated that they were for personal reasons and not due to work-related issues. Even with these problems, she remains a trusted news reporter, especially among those seeking unbiased news. People like Katie Drummond and Senator Alex Padilla have praised her talks for being in-depth and calm. This adds to her image as a writer who puts substance over show. Even though she doesn't get the most viewers during prime time, Bernett has a loyal following thanks to her calm attitude and strict reporting. Erin Bernett's brand of quiet authority remains recognized and valuable in a media landscape that is increasingly focused on personalities and divisions. Norah ODonnell is the face of CBS that you may not yet fully trust. Since Norah ODonnell left the CBS Evening News in 2025, there has been increased discussion about her impact and the complex relationship between viewer trust and the exposure of anchors. After 5 years in charge, ODonnell stepped down on January 24, 2025. During that time, she covered 7 presidential races and many high-stakes cases, including her well-known coverage of sexual assault in the military and a rare talk with Pope Francis. Even with these reporting successes, O'Donnell's show consistently ranked third behind ABC and NBC. This made people wonder if she was popular with general viewers. Oprah Winfrey paid her a surprise honor on her farewell show, and a video of her best moments on the show was featured. However, the emotional send-off couldn't mask the real issue. O'Donnell's trustworthiness was always evident, but she never seemed to connect with her fans genuinely. She is now a senior reporter for CBS and a contributor to 60 Minutes. She is no longer in the spotlight every night as the network changes to a style with multiple hosts led by John Dickerson and Maurice Dubois. This change is part of CBS's broader plan to make its national news more local and incorporate diverse perspectives. Many people respect O'Donnell's honesty as a writer, but her leaving shows a growing trend in the media. Trust isn't just about truth anymore. It's also about being present, relatable, and emotionally engaging. Many people saw O'Donnell on TV, but she wasn't always the person they felt they could trust. What went wrong with the news anchors who lost trust overnight? In 2025, a wave of sudden resignations and a loss of trust among well-known news anchors prompted people to pay close attention to the media's reputation problem. In the first 3 months of the year, anchors such as Chuck Todd, Joy Reid, Amara Walker, and Norah ODonnell all left their networks, which led to rumors of internal changes and unhappy viewers. Todd's decision to leave NBC after almost 20 years was seen as a personal change, but critics said it was due to his declining ratings and what they perceived as bias on his part. Reid quit MSNBC after months of losing fans and getting negative feedback for her controversial comments. Walker quit CNN because she was tired of her job and wanted to pursue other interests. Even though O'Donnell had won numerous awards as a writer, her departure from the CBS Evening News highlighted a gap between the quality of reporting and public interest. These quick changes reveal a broader erosion of trust as viewers expect greater openness, relatability, and ideological balance. With the rise of independent platforms and news driven by influencers, the standard anchor's job has become even more challenging, and fame alone is no longer enough to establish trust. Many times, reporters lose people's trusts not because of a scandal, but because they fail to adapt their viewing standards or get the cultural moment wrong. As networks rush to change their names and logos, the message is clear. Trust is fragile and rarely returns overnight after it's been broken. The press is no longer safe from the rapid changes in public opinion. Who is the most biased news anchor in the U.S.? You choose. In 2025, the debate about media bias has intensified, and people are sharply divided on who holds the most biased view of American news. Tucker Carlson is the most controversial reporter, according to the most recent THR Morning Consult poll. 49% of those who answered said they trust him not much or not at all. Carlson's job after leaving Fox News is now based on his show and popular videos on X. This has increased his power while exacerbating divisions. Sean Hannity comes in second with 30% of Americans saying they don't believe his reports because he supports the right causes and helped promote Project 2025. With 26% and 25% respectively, Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon also have a high level of doubt, which is likely due to concerns about their political leanings and editorial tone. Based on expert reviews and random bias polls, the All Sides Media Bias Chart makes things even more confusing. It shows that Fox News and Upward News are on the right, while MSNBC and Vox are on the left. These scores indicate that bias isn't just about political leanings. It also involves how news hosts frame stories, select stories to present, and address opposing viewpoints. Some watchers like these reporters because they don't back down from their opinions, but others see them as symbols of a broken media environment. The title of Most Biased has less to do with facts and more to do with how Americans choose to read the news. How can I trust a news anchor? People who watch share their thoughts. In 2025, the qualities that people look for in a news reporter have changed significantly. This is because people are becoming less accepting of traditional media and more interested in sincerity, openness, and emotional intelligence. Recent viewer polls and media trust scores show that reporters who consistently tell stories, report facts, and are willing to admit when they're wrong are seen as much more trustworthy. People now trust hosts more when they provide more information about events rather than just repeating the news. Storytelling is a crucial component in establishing trust. Anchors like Scott Van Pelt have become famous not only for their storytelling skills, but also for making their stories more relatable. For example, his sympathetic coverage of how college players felt during the 2025 College World Series. People also view reporters as watchdogs rather than mouthpieces if they hold power accountable and fight for social justice without becoming too extreme. The growth of independent platforms has also changed trust measures. Viewers prefer reporters who remain editorially independent and verify facts in a clear and transparent manner. As viewers seek reporters who share their concerns and values, emotional connection, relatability, and clarity in complex reports have become essential skills. These days, trust isn't given automatically. You have to be consistent, humble, and able to connect with others before they will trust you. People recently said in a poll, "I trust anchors who talk to me, not at me." Why not trust or have fun? Where the line is blurred for today's news anchors. In 2025, it's becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish between research and entertainment. News reporters often do both to stay relevant and get more viewers. Anchors like Tucker Carlson, Trevor Noah, and even Anderson Cooper have appeared on scripted TV shows, podcasts, and popular social media videos. This has led to a discussion about whether crossover appeal hurts believability. The Institute for Policy Research says that the rise of infotainment has changed what people expect from TV shows. Now viewers value charm and relatability more than accurate reporting. The fact that CNN CEO Mark Thompson was honest and said he doesn't fully trust the media shows that news companies are having to face reality. Gallup's most recent study shows that only 31% of Americans believe the media. This is the lowest level of trust in history, indicating that people are growing tired of the drama and what they perceive as bias in the news. Ethical experts, such as Rick Selby, argued that sensationalized forms can compromise the integrity of journalism, particularly when editing rules are disregarded in favor of stories that generate more clicks. Anchors, who were once seen as authorities, are now criticized for mixing performance with commentary, which makes viewers wonder if they're learning something or just having fun. As the number of sites grows and people's attention spans get shorter, the need to keep people interested has changed what news means. Trust isn't just based on telling the truth anymore. It's also based on tone, delivery, and the subtle art of keeping people watching. The stark difference between political views and trust ratings. The link between political beliefs and trust in the media is stronger than ever in 2025, showing a country deeply divided along party lines. The Edelman Trust Barometer reveals that Americans with high levels of grievance, often stemming from economic stress and political disenfranchisement, have a trust index of only 36. In contrast, Americans with lower levels of grievance have a trust index of 66. The way people use the media reveals this difference. Outlets that people believe support their political views are trusted significantly more than sources that people believe oppose their views. The All Sides Media Bias Chart continues to categorize major news sites by their political leanings. Fox News and Upward News are rated right, MSNBC and Vox are rated left, and Reuters and AP are rated center. These scores are based on journalistic reviews and polls with no bias, indicating that people want more information about the origins of news. The Cook Partisan Voter Index, on the other hand, shows that 23 states lean Republican, 16 states lean Democratic, and 11 states are swing states. This makes the regional divide that affects trust in the media even stronger. People in red states tend to favor hosts like Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson, while those in blue states prefer hosts like Rachel Maddow and Anderson Cooper. These anchors often represent the network's political tone. As political identity becomes a bigger trust factor, the task for news is not just to tell the facts, but also to help people see the truth through party views. People think these news anchors have a greater impact on people than journalists. The line between journalism and power has become so blurry in 2025 that many watchers now think of top news hosts as digital stars first and writers second. A Pew Research Center study released in April found that 1 in 5 Americans, primarily those under 30, now obtain their news from news influencers. These are makers who share real-time views on social media sites like TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Anchors like V. Safar of Under the Desk News and Lisa Rimillard, known as the News Girl, have millions of fans because they offer easy-to-understand, emotionally powerful content that often bypasses traditional editing filters. Their success demonstrates that people crave sincerity and speed. They prefer artists who communicate directly with them rather than going through formal intermediaries. Even well-known news hosts like Anderson Cooper and Trevor Noah have begun to adopt influencer-style formats such as podcasts and short videos that blend news with entertainment. People in India, including Arnab Goswami and Barkha Dutt, are also perceived as complex characters because they utilize social media to reach a wider audience and influence the way people perceive them. Media experts are now wondering whether reputation is being built on participation measures instead of traditional journalism due to this shift. Traditional newsrooms are struggling to maintain public trust. The rise of anchor influencers indicates that the way people obtain their news is evolving. It's less about being objective and more about forming connections. This change is shaped by the algorithms that drive attention. Why people don't trust American news anchors as much as they used to. In 2025, Trust in American news hosts has dropped to an all-time low. This is due to growing political division, the separation of the media, and changes in customer habits. Gallup's most recent poll shows that only 31% of Americans take the mass press seriously, and 36% say they don't trust it at all. This is the lowest level of trust in the media that Gallup has seen since it started tracking it in the 1970s. This loss of trust isn't just happening among one party group. Republicans report the lowest trust at 11%. But Democrats and independents also report falling trust, and partisan differences are made worse by the idea that news hosts are ideological mouthpieces instead of neutral reporters. With more than half of U.S. people getting their news from sites like TikTok and Instagram, the rise of social media and news led by influencers has made things even more difficult. Anchors like Don Lemon, Sean Hannity, and Rachel Maddow, who were once seen as authoritative, are now criticized for editorial bias, drama, or what some perceive as a lack of interest in daily issues. At the same time, Americans are twice as likely to trust area reporters as they are to trust national news outlets when it comes to personal trust. People are tired of standard news forms in general, and there is a rising demand for honesty, relatability, and ideological balance. Trust isn't something that happens anymore. It's a fragile currency that you have to earn by being genuine, consistent, and able to connect with people beyond the script. The fact that this news anchor was ranked dead last in public trust shocked everyone. In 2025, former CNN host Don Lemon came in dead last in the THR Morning Consult Public Trust Poll. This was a shocking fall from power that brought up the question of the role of personality-driven news again. 52% of people who answered said they didn't trust Lemon at all, which is more than even Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity. Lemon's trust rate dropped to just 18%. The ranking came after a string of scandals, including being fired from CNN in 2023 for comments that were seen as racist and ageist, and an appearance on a show in 2025 where he said hurtful things about black Republicans. He was also accused of harassing people at CNN. Lemon has since started his own media company, The Don Lemon Show, and has more than 2 million YouTube followers. However, some critics say that his shift to independent analysis has made people more suspicious of his bias and self-interest. Media experts say that Lemon's transition from a news reporter to a culture agitator is a good example of a larger trend in which news anchors blur the line between their brand and their work. His ranking reveals not only his own mistakes, but also a growing lack of trust in established media figures who fail to adapt to the changing times and meet the evolving needs of viewers. In a world where honesty and relatability are becoming increasingly crucial for trustworthiness, Lemon's fall illustrates how quickly public opinion can shift and how challenging it is to regain trust once it has been lost. The numbers were correct this time, and they shocked everyone.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon